Thanks for coming.
I'm the guy with the coat on. You're looking pretty casual there.
That's right. Well, what can I say? So, this is the 8th Web 2 Summit. It's kind of amazing. That means the term Web 2 is 8 years old. Now, you guys remember, of course, that referred to the second coming of the web after the failures of the dot-com
You mean
bust.
it wasn't a software designation?
No, it wasn't. And actually, I guess it means that we finally know what Web 3 is going to be. It's going to be whatever pulls us out of the slump the economy's in now.
There we go. There we go.
Right.
Exactly.
But seriously, the themes that we identified back then are still so present with us. So, you know, the heart of what we identified as Web 2 was the ability of these massive web applications to harness collective intelligence through massive amounts of data, intelligent algorithms. And back then, you know, people didn't really get it. That very first Web Summit, Bran Cohen of BitTorrent gave a talk making a joke about the idea that we were building an internet operating system with data. Of course, I think now, today, you look at your phone and you think about all these data-driven applications, you know, from Facebook to Google Maps to search, you know, commerce, all these things. They are calling on services, data services in the cloud. I think there's no better example of where all this is going right now than something like the Google autonomous vehicle. You know, I've been telling this story.
That's a self-driving car.
Yeah, right. You know, what's so amazing about this, and I've just been fascinated with it since I realized this was true. You know, you think about it, in 2005, which is actually a year after we started Web 2, this little Stanford vehicle called Stanley won the DARPA Grand Challenge. But what people forget is that it drove 7 miles in 7 hours. And this year, Google announced that they had this car that had driven hundreds of thousands of miles in ordinary traffic. What was the difference? Peter Norvig, Google's chief scientist, said to me, "We don't have better algorithms, we just have more data." More data. And, you know, if you actually understand what happened with that Google car, it's actually hundreds of thousands of miles driven by Google Street View drivers in cars that were equipped with sensors that made the car know and remember far more than the human drivers noticed. So those Street View pictures that you see in your little Street View app are actually measured to the millimeter with a laser. And so the car knows exactly where it is on the road. Right? And so you think about that, the Google autonomous vehicle is actually a tethered vehicle. It's tethered to a giant database in the cloud. And that is kind of a classic example of what we think about as the data frame.
So that's our theme this year,
yeah.
the data frame. And
right.
I don't think we've had a theme that has been as universally understood and picked up quickly, which I'm pleased with, because some of them were a bit opaque. The web meets the world and things like that. But I think we're at the point now where it's very clear that this industry has affected all industries, and all industries are now this industry. I mean, if you look at the people who are speaking by category, we have academics, we have leading writers and thinkers in the space, we have your big CEOs who run huge data-driven companies like Microsoft, for example, but we also have these extraordinary startups. But I've never seen as many policy people on our lineup as this year, because all of a sudden it seems not just Washington but all world capitals have woken up to this data frame, and they are starting to pay attention, not always in ways that makes us pleased, but it is something that a conversation has begun, and we hope that this 3 days will further that conversation.
Well, in a lot of ways, what we've always been about is what Silicon Valley has to teach other industries, and it's now, I think, just becoming clearer what some of those things are.
Yeah, I mean, we've got brands coming, really large brands that you wouldn't think would be interested in coming to a Silicon Valley, you know, conference, but American Express and Visa and Coke and Pepsi and Interpublic Group are here. And we have a very new approach to programming that we wanted you guys to understand and appreciate, because it's a little bit higher, sort of faster pace than the normal. We've taken our higher bits that we're well known for, those 10-minute presentations, and we've even broken those into 5 minutes. And so we now have these 5-minute pivots, and they're one after the other, especially if you look at day 2 and 3. It's bam, 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 bam. And the idea is to keep you kind of on the edge of your seat, give you lots to think about. You'll notice there's no really long couch here. And the reason for that is that we have no panels for the entire time that we have this conference. So I hope that you'll like that new wrinkle in our program. The most we'll ever have is 2 people on stage and an interlocutor. So that's going to be fun. Interlocutor, I love that word. So I would say, there's a lot of amazing people about to be on this stage interviewed by Tim and I today. There'll be more over the next 2 days, but pay attention to those people you may not have heard of in the next 2 days after, because they have extraordinary things to say.
Yeah, we have to say at our Web2 Expo in New York last week, some of the speakers that people had never heard of were just like mind-blowingly interesting.
Yeah, they rated the highest. Now, a few housekeeping notes I wanted to mention. You may have seen as you were registering or checking in, right over here in the Garden Court is a new program element as well. We had so many really interesting data-driven startups and social startups that wanted to share this stage, and we just didn't have the space that we gave them that whole space. And it's underwritten by Intel, so thank you, Intel, very much for making it possible to have the Innovation Gallery right next door, so you can check out Turntable, Box.net, Cake Health, Early, and 5 or 6 other really great startups. They'll be there the whole time, so you can go see what they have to offer, and that'll be really fun as well. We're going to have a lot of news. We have a few companies that are actually launching on this stage over the next few days. We have other product announcements, major product announcements coming out. And we even have some schedule changes that we'll announce as we go through. There's just so much going on in this space that we'll explain it as it happens, so to speak. And with that, I think I want to take the time to thank the sponsors. That'd be a fair thing to do.
Yeah.
I think we should do that.
Yeah.
I think we should absolutely do that. We have some extraordinary sponsors who stepped up to make it possible to do all of this. I want to thank our diamond sponsor, Adobe. Give them a round of applause. Adobe, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you. And Bing and Intel as our platinum. And our insight sponsor, if you've seen the Web2 Summit map, which is sort of back here, we added a data layer. We did our best to get some data about some of the biggest companies on the web and what kind of data they have and how big they are in terms of the engagement. You'll see that Facebook is a very big city, and we show them as cities. Facebook's the biggest city because of the amount of engagement that they have and the number of unique visitors per month. Nielsen provided us that data, so thank you, Nielsen. And our gold sponsors, IBM and Serve, which is American Express's platform. Silver, Dell, and Yahoo, and Bronze.co, who announced last year, you may recall, what was it? It was O.co? No, I.co that they were auctioning off, right, last year, and My Life, and all the supporting sponsors as well. So thank you very much, all of the sponsors of Web2.
Yeah, John, you mentioned the other that we have earlier that we have some people from government. I'm particularly excited about hearing from Danny Weitzner from the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. And it seems to me that we're in the midst of a ferocious debate in this country about what is the appropriate role of government.
Yes.
And in particular, we have to think about the appropriate role of government in technology, because technology is becoming so pervasive. So I think that's going to be really, really interesting. Yeah.
And so and if you're tweeting and or blogging or doing any kind of out into the world from here, the live stream is up and live right now. It's at web2summit.com/live, and that is embeddable, so anybody can embed it on their site and go nuts. Last year we did live stream. I think we had over 100,000 views of the live stream, so we hope that we'll break that record this year.
What's the Twitter hashtag? Is it W2S again?
Yes. Twitter hashtag is W2S. And if you want to get on
that's actually now would work as a hashtag on Google Plus too.
That would work as a they announced last week, just in time for us.
Yeah.
Vic Gundotra will be here to talk about
right.
that. I'm sure that's why he did it. The wireless is Web Summit. No 2. I can't explain why the 2 dropped, but it's Web Summit. The password is dataframe, all one word, lowercase. There are in the back and throughout the, you'll probably step on them, power cords for your laptops if you need those. And that's all my housekeeping, I think, that I've got.
All right, well,
ready to roll.
We're
ready to get started.
All right.
Tim?
Ready to go. Yeah, I was just kind of in the middle of plugging before the housekeeping. I started to plug some of the speakers that are coming up on day 2 and 3. Mary Meeker, of Kleiner Perkins. You guys who've been here before know she always does an amazing presentation on internet trends. Commissioner of Information and Privacy of Ontario joins Director of the FTC Bureau of Consumer Protection, moderated by Twitter's General Counsel, AMAC, which is going to be pretty cool. Thinking about privacy is, again, one of those key issues in this data world that we're heading into. We have Google Ventures here talking about their unique take on quantifying entrepreneurship, and Thomas Drake with stories about the dark side of data as experienced at the National Security Administration.
Yeah, that's going to be good. Thomas Drake's story is a hell of a story.
That's going to be pretty cool.
Anytime that you are a segment on 60 Minutes, there's a story there somewhere.
And of course, we're wrapping up with Reid Hoffman, if I recall.
That's right. Reid Hoffman will be our closing speaker, and he always is interesting.